All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're looking at an incredible interpretation of the Qur'an, one that sees it not as just a history book, but as a living, dynamic system, almost like a quantum code for reality itself. It suggests time in the Qur'an isn't a straight line, and its stories are eternal patterns that repeat inside every one of us. This is going to challenge a lot of traditional ideas, so let's get into it.
This single idea from our source material really asks you to flip a switch in your mind. Forget seeing the Quran as a book of things that happened way back when. Instead, imagine it as a mirror reflecting your own inner journey, a kind of memory that's already hardwired into your soul. So the whole focus shifts from what happened then to what's happening right now inside you.
And that brings us to the core idea. The Quran, in this view, operates completely outside of our concept of linear time. The stories of the prophets, they're not just one-and-done historical accounts. They are eternal archetypes, these recurring patterns that are playing out over and over again, both inside of us and in the world all around us.
So if it's not a linear story, then what is it? Well, the central metaphor our source uses is really cool. It's a dynamic, looping circuit. Let's take a closer look at what that means.
The model for this whole system is a Mobius loop. You know that strip of paper with a single twist that creates one continuous, endless side? In this framework, time and prophecy work just like that. The end is the beginning. The journey isn't a straight line from A to B. It's this constant, beautiful cycle of return and renewal.
Now check this out. This slide maps these repeating patterns in such a fascinating way, connecting the prophetic cycles to the phases of the moon. So for example, the prophet Musa, or Moses, he represents the hidden light, the new moon, that awakening behind a veil. Then you have Yahya and Isa, that's John the Baptist and Jesus, as the emergent, growing light. And finally, the prophet Muhammad represents the complete, perfected reflection, the full moon. See? It's not a timeline, it's a recurring cycle of light and guidance.
Okay, so within this eternal circuit, the source identifies two main currents, two powerful forces, and they're not defined by family trees or ancestry, but by something much, much deeper, your state of belief.
And this slide lays out those two paths perfectly. On one side, you've got the lineage of fire. This is all about action, trial, and the power of command, represented by figures like Musa and Yahya. On the other side is the lineage of light, the path of wisdom, mercy, and pure knowledge, tied to figures like Isa and Ibrahim, or Abraham. These really represent two fundamental ways of being in this cosmic dance.
And here is the most crucial point. This idea of lineage has absolutely nothing to do with your bloodline. It is a state of being that you choose. As you can see, Ibrahim is the root of this entire system, but he's described as a good word, not just a person. The source points out that it was pure faith that allowed Maryam, or Mary, to conceive a child, showing that true miraculous knowledge is born directly from that faith. This means anyone, you, me, anyone at all, can join this lineage of light through our own belief and actions.
Now, let's see how this all connects, because this is where the source makes a truly mind-bending link between these spiritual concepts and the bizarre world of quantum physics.
You've probably heard of it. Einstein famously called it spooky action at a distance. It's one of the biggest mysteries in science. How can two connected particles influence each other instantly, no matter how far apart they are? It's a puzzle that has baffled scientists for a century. Well, our source material proposes a pretty unique answer, straight from the Quran.
So what is this spooky action? The source suggests it's a cosmic entanglement between two core principles, the pure knowledge, represented by the prophet Isa, and the decisive action, represented by Ahmed, another name for the prophet Muhammad. In this view, knowledge and action aren't separate things. They're two sides of the same coin, fundamentally linked across all of time and all of space.
So here's how it breaks down. First, think of truth like the wave-particle duality in physics. It exists as both a wave of pure potential and a particle of concrete reality. Second, that spooky instant connection happens because God, who is outside of time and space, is instantly judging the action, not the thought, not the intention, but the deed itself. And what that means for us is that every single one of our actions has an immediate, direct cosmic consequence.
This quote from the source just hits so hard. It describes a universe that operates on pure law, not on feelings. Your actions are the only input into this giant cosmic system. It doesn't matter how you feel about it, it matters what you do. The output is guaranteed because it's all built on the unchangeable rules of the system. Okay, so we've been talking about these huge, abstract ideas. How does any of this apply to us in our daily lives? Well, the source brings it all down to a very personal level, to a choice that every single one of us has to make.
And that choice plays out on an inner battlefield the Qur'an calls the Nafs, the self. It's the arena inside each of us where that lineage of fire and the lineage of light are constantly struggling. To become internal, to purify the self, the source says you have to make two great sacrifices. You have to sacrifice the pride that can come from knowledge, that's the light path, and you have to sacrifice the chaos that comes from transgression, that's the fire path.
The source points to verse 2, verse 152, as being the absolute key to this whole process. It reads, "So remember me, I will remember you, and be grateful to me and do not deny me." This is presented as more than just a verse. It's a direct command and a promise. It's the very mechanism that runs this whole circuit of purification and return.
And here's one final piece of really powerful practical advice. That respite, the time that we're all given in this life, it isn't for vacation. It's not for kicking back. It's the small window of opportunity we have to work, to strive, and to defeat the ignorance that holds us back from who we're truly meant to be.
And that brings us to the final, really provocative question that this whole interpretation leaves us with. When you look at your own life, your own actions, your own beliefs, which current are you flowing with? Are you on the path of fire or the path of light? Because according to this framework, that's the choice that defines our reality every single moment of every single day.